What's up, friends, and welcome back to the channel. This is project253. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We're getting really close to 1,000 subs, which is a pretty good goal, a pretty big thing. And here we do mostly, as you can see, we got some JDM, we got some muscle car stuff. So this channel, we basically build our cars, take them out, race them, test them, whatnot. We got my buddy Brent's got a Malibu. We got a big wagon on this channel, the superchargers. If you like this kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button and welcome to project253. So winter's been pretty nuts, and if you guys can see behind me, well, I kind of cleaned up the shop a little bit. And if you've been following, you know that I brought the RX7 home from the warehouse. I had it in storage all year, and also still have the El Camino in here, which needs a whole bunch more work, but we're gonna get to that really soon. So today I figured I'd take you guys on the little, show you around, and well, I can give you a little shop tour since some of you might be new, and kind of give you an idea of what my plans are for this year, for the channel, for the cars, and kind of everything in between. Let's have a look. Join us now. There's my GT86. I don't really plan on doing many mods to that because it's a pretty comfortable daily driver, and I'd like to keep it that way, headache free. I got it new about 3 years ago. It's a 2017 model, and still got warranty and all that fun stuff, so I'm not gonna do too many mods. I initially bought these mags for it that are now on the RX7. They belong on there, but because the car doesn't have a suspension, it's not lowered, it looks kind of like 4x4-ish, I guess. They're big, bulky, they stick out a little too far, but the car stock on its own handles pretty good. So since about 2006, I've always had a JDM car in the fleet. My first JDM car was an AE86 Trueno. Actually, I got a picture up on the wall. Look. That's it there. It was actually featured in a magazine. You guys see that? So my first JDM car, I brought it to the stadium, big show. That was a big goal I had. It was the first car that I drift with, and it's the first car that I competed in drifting with. Those were two very huge goals that I wanted to reach. I did that with that car. Shortly after, I had an AE86 Levin, which is like the Trueno. Trueno has the flip-up lights, if you didn't know, and the Levin has the brick headlights in the front that are stationary, don't move. So I had that car also. Came from a real good friend of mine, in fact, the same gentleman that found me my AE86. And that had an SR20 in it, and it was a monster. For a little car like that had that much power in it and throwing it around the track, it was pretty wicked. But my stretch didn't last very long with that car. I took it to the track maybe 1 season, 2 seasons, and then ended up building this garage and everything you see around you, and the house. And so that pretty much took up all my money and all my free time and everything else that I could have, kind of like resources I would have used for drifting. So that's what happened there. So years and years later, I ended up buying this. It was 3 hours away. I drove out there with my brother, picked it up one day, drove it back home. Poor kid never got the chance to drive in it. He ended up passing away in a car accident the same year. So that's project253. That was his number when he was racing. If you didn't know, that's kind of, this is keeping the spirit alive. He was a fun-having kid. He loved this kind of stuff. He's got a second-gen Supra he was gonna build, so maybe we're gonna do something with that later because that car's still around. So let's have a quick look at the RX7, the JDM car that's in the fleet, the right-hand drive. Start on this corner, because that's where all the damage is. See this nice little dent here? You can see, whoa, look at the waves. And the fact that that part, the bottom fender is in much more than this one. That's because of a little wall tap, a little drift action. So the story behind this car was, I have a 66 Nova, and while I was building it, I figured I'd get myself another JDM car that's already built, has body kit on it, mags on it, suspension, all that stuff that you do right off the bat, and I wanted to just drive it and enjoy it. So I picked it up with my brother, kind of a impulsive buy almost, you'd say. I got it back home, started playing around with it, started setting it up how I like, and I found tons and tons and tons of problems, issues, and it's by far, as many people share the same opinion, it's one of your dream cars, right? I wasn't sure at first if it was the car for me, if I made the right decision in buying this, but then I went and I checked on I went and played some old video games with RX-7 in it, like Need for Speed and Gran Turismo's, and of course every save file had like an RX-7 built in it, so I was like, okay, this is cool, that's what I want. I'm happy with that, very happy with that. Just a few weeks after I get the car, my beautiful girlfriend buys me for my birthday weekend pass tickets to the Formula Drift that's running locally here, St. Eustache at the time, so it was the only Formula Drift event in Canada, And it just so happens it was only 45 minutes away from home. So what she do, she takes me down there. I get to meet all the drivers. We hung out at the racetrack all weekend. We got to see all the qualifying, all the practicing. We get to watch the guys come in, set up their trailers, all their stuff, take everything, take it down. We hung out with them all weekend. It was amazing. Problem with that, I got the instant drift bug. And just in case you missed last week's video, that drift event is where these came from. Now I got autographed pictures of all my favorite drivers, most of them anyway. So up here we got Frederick Asbo. There we got Mr. Ryan Turk. Get that glare out of there. Daijiro Yoshihara, who I've been following since day one. He's one of the OG Formula Drift guys, as well as Vaughn Gittin Jr. And right here we got Odi Bacci's. Funny story about how I got this poster and the interaction that happened right before, but we'll save that for another time. So instantly hooked back into the drifting. Like I mentioned before, I used to drift my Trueno. I used to drift the 11 that I had. I did some very amateur competitions with it, but I was doing it. I was drifting. I could stick the thing the whole track, stay on the track, connect every corner. I was doing all right. But I think drifting is going to be easily compared to, say, driving a motorcycle, because they always say once you get the bug, you can't get rid of. Who's that? Hey, ooh, what are you doing? Where are you going? Distractions. So anyways, she took me to this drift event. I got all crazy about it again, and I wanted to go back drifting. So guess what went drifting? So basically, since I got the car till this year, really, because right now she's still set up in drift form. It's been a track car, and I got a little rough on it, but you know, it was already kind of twisted when I got it. And it's not like it's a super crazy rare model of the car. It's in fact a 92. Because it came from Japan, our 92s in North America were the FC3S model. Look kind of like a Porsche a little bit. This is the first model of the FD, and it wasn't sold here. Here we had 93 to 95. And that's why most of the American versions of the car with the left-hand drive steering wheel is worth so much, because they were only produced for a small number of years. So this one, and maybe not so much value, but they're still climbing like crazy. So anyways, I took it to the track. Since it was like that, I kind of beat on it a little bit. Now, put a welded differential in the back end. You know, I just wanted to get up and go. So I had that welded up, put it back in. Everything was cool. Everything went good. I got some tires, all kinds of stuff. Now, the interior, I had to modify a little bit too. This RX7 stuff is taking way longer than I thought. So I'm going to show you the interior really quick. For the driver's seat, I'm running the Sparco Evo 2, which is kind of a big seat because I'm kind of a big dude. The problem is I couldn't run door panels. As you can see on the other side, I took the door panel off of there as well, but that's just to match them up because I had a plan for that. So let's walk around the other side and check it out. So Sparco Evo 2, no door panel because the door wouldn't shut properly. It would push up against the seat. Previous to this, I had two Sprint seats in it, Sparco Sprint seats. They fit beautifully. But I ended up taking them out for, I can't remember why, and decided to sell those to my brother-in-law, Jamie. Now they're in his 240. So that's why there's a stock seat here and an aftermarket seat there. The reason I don't run the stock seat in the car, it's kind of a small car if you know anything about RX-7s, very compact inside. Me being 6'2", I don't fit so good. You see there's not a lot of room for the headspace and stuff like that. So I have the bucket seat in there essentially to keep my head from bouncing off the ceiling of the car. That's how close it is. If I put a helmet on with the stock seat, it just does not work. Even when I ride like this, I have to take the bottom cushion off, put the helmet on, because that's the only way I'm gonna get clear. So since it's a drift machine, I got lock diff, got a race seat. Well, I put on an aftermarket steering wheel. I got the Sparco deep dish, because the other problem was the steering wheel was rubbing up against my legs. So my head's hitting the ceiling, the steering wheel was rubbing on my legs. Problem solved. A couple $1,000 of Sparco stuff. Was it worth it? I don't know. Besides that, we got the e-brake here, set up on the back brakes. And I kind of did that super cheap too, where I just eliminated the back brakes altogether. There's nothing coming off the front of the car. The line's been pinched and closed off. And so now the pedal does the front brakes and the hydro brake does the back brakes. This little panel here, I got the kill switch in it. And two buttons. Those are for nothing yet, but might put them on something one day. Little switches down there are for the windows, because Mazda's pricing is insane. Because those Mazda switches are worth a couple $100, and to have a couple $100 of switches and non-existent door panels, you know, it wasn't financially a great idea. And plus, you know, you put those switches in the door, chances are somebody would rip them out. My brother already kind of screwed that up. He pulled the door handle one day and pulled the switch off of it. Doesn't matter, it's all good. Being no door panels and kind of a race car, I didn't play around with that too much. Another little details up front, I put these things, you know, these elastics are terrible. Look at that, it's like a year old, it's already cracked, it's gone, it's dead. Pull this other side off too. And underneath here, none of my flashers are hooked up right now, but with the help of my buddy Nick from Nick's Drift Shop, we bent up this nice little bash bar setup deal, put that on the car, and that's what kind of holds the bumper in and adds to the drift effect. We get underneath the hood here. Kind of did a sticker bomb, kind of crazy ass thing here because I used to be a motocross rider and I figured I'd transfer a little bit of style over to this puppy, see what's up. The intercooler sucks, just a little tiny thing. And again, like it's set up so bad. I haven't had time or money to do anything really to this car too much to make it to my liking. But like I mentioned earlier, look at this. You got your rads are right here. So you got the hot air going into the intake. You got hot air coming off the rads going directly into the intercooler. Not so cool. I took the battery, relocated it to the trunk. It's underneath the seat right now. It's kind of hard to see. But anyways, we'll get into that later. So here we are. Sort of like a street spec drift car. No cage, no big safety features, but I could go do events and stuff like that. Now, like I said before, the El Camino, you know how the El Camino for a drift machine. Now this is going to be a big project and it might take a little bit of time to finish, but since this is for drifting now, I kind of feel like I don't have to beat the crap out of this car. I could beat the crap out of this car when it's done. And it's pretty cool too. I mean, it's totally different. It's a total opposite end of the spectrum, but it's the kind of stuff that I enjoy. I adore JDM cars and American muscle. So I'm gonna make something cool out of both of these. So the plan for this puppy right here, the RX7 FD, is I want to clean it up, make it look good, might even take it apart, go as far as straighten up the whole chassis and everything else to make it really on point. But I'd like to make a nice clean street car that I could take and show off and enjoy on the roads, even though the roads suck for this car because they're so bumpy. And also, I've been really thinking about getting into a little bit of time attack. Me and the boys have been doing some racing on Forza, and usually I would just straight up drift all the time. But we got into lapping and learning how to tune cars and stuff like that. I got a video series coming for you guys later, probably. Gonna look at that and see what it's like and what it's about. Give you a little idea what's going on. But now that I have the bug of, you know, lapping, going fast, I think that's a good weapon of choice. So that's gonna be the plan for that. But first, we got a lot of work to do to get it just streetable again. I've got to change the differential. The body kit needs a lot of work. The side skirts were very mangled and they weren't put on right. They were like hanging off and half glued. You can still see some of the glue right there, some of the left over, trying to pull it off, and ended up breaking the paint, missing the vent there. And then the back end, well, I got myself a new back bumper. I'm gonna have to fit that on, but with all the dents that are in the opposite side over here, with all these dents right here, it's kind of hard to make anything line up properly. So it's gonna need a bit of work, a bit of love. These headlights, they're taillights, I mean, sorry. They're fish tanks. Fortunately, I got those taillights for free, so I'm not too worried about it. I have the ones that came with the car, which are much nicer. The reason those taillights are on the car right now is I knew they were messed up and I knew they held water like that and condensation, so I wasn't worried about them. And I figured, worst case, if I do a wall tap, I'm not scrapping the nice taillights I have for it. All that stuff is still in the warehouse, still in storage, still all packed up and everything else. So I got a lot of work ahead of me. I've got to do the brakes, we've got to change the differential, put a proper one back in so street driving is not such a pain in the ass. When I go lapping, it's not just going to spin out on me off of acceleration or de-acceleration, all that kind of stuff. The interior clearly needs work. I would like to change out those seats because that Evo 2 is going in the El Camino. And then I got to ditch the hydraulic handbrake in it, put my regular brakes back up, set up this bash bar up in front here. It's really good, almost perfect, but it sticks out a little far. I'm going to have to shave that down, bring it in. So overall, and then like, let's talk about the engine, right? I got to set up that so that I'm not getting hot air coming off of everything and going down the tubes and whatnot to make it roll good, make it run good, nice and cool. So lots of work ahead, but that's all fun, right? That's the whole point of this channel, is just to do stuff and kind of work through it and try to get to the next level always. So to sum it all up, the plans for this year, outside over there, my GT86, that's the daily. I'm not gonna mess with that too much. I was thinking about taking to the track, do a bit of lapping with it so I can learn how to drive, and it's a really good car to learn how to drive in. It's very simple to drive. It's built pretty simple and it's not gonna blow up on me because it's still stock, so I'm not putting huge power adders in it and stuff like that. That's gonna be cool. So GT86 is the daily, the RX7. It's gonna be a street car slash time attack car, so I'll dub this thing like the Street Fighter. You know, very much like Steven Subaru that he's got, the WRX. That's kind of a Street Fighter too, because that thing is set up to be a good street car, reliable, and to be fast on the track. So hopefully we'll get out there to the track with them. Sort of last but not least, we got the El Camino here. If you guys have been following, you know I have this other brand thing I'm working on called Speedemon Design or Speedemon Design, depending on how you want to say it. It's kind of spelt out like Pokemon, you know, it's like S-P-E-D-E-M-O-N, no double D in there, no space, it's all one word. So I'm gonna dub this one a Speed Monster, because it's a car that's built to be a monster. It's not like any other thing. It's got its own personality, it's got its own sick, twisted little character, and it's gonna be a monster, right? Just like the Chevy 2 that Brent's got now, the black one, the Nova, another Speed Monster, right? So the RX7, the Malibu, the wagon, the WRX, those are kind of like Street Fighters. The wagon's a bit more special than the rest of them because it's like supercharged and it's a show car and stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. This puppy's going rip. And then after that, the only thing left to do, which I say I'm going to do all the time and I never get to it properly, is that I want to set my pickup truck up so that I can really do some good things in the winter. I can get myself anywhere I need to go. It's 4x4. But it needs a lot of love. It's old. Things are falling off of it. It's hard to see. The truck way over there. Biggest goal, my biggest dream, is to make that thing kind of like a Baja truck. You know, like a trophy truck style or a pre-runner. And that way it's going to handle any kind of condition I throw at it, because I work hard in the winter. I got to travel a lot in the winter and I have to deal with every snowstorm. As soon as it snows and gets nasty, that's when I got to get up and go to work. So that's the plans for the fleet today. There was a little shop tour going on. It's kind of messy in here still, but it's not so bad. It's been getting better than it was. And thanks for watching, guys. If you like this kind of stuff, and we're going to see some progress soon, I'm just doing these videos to kind of keep you guys in the loop. What's going on, what's happening, what's next. And we'll go from there. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, we're really close to 1,000 subs. And that's pretty cool. It's a pretty big benchmark. It's a very big goal that I've always had. And I mean, after that, it's party time, right, boys? So thanks for watching. Stick around, hit that subscribe button. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next video.